With the chaos of Road Atlanta's start fresh in the drivers' minds, Monza might not instill faith in them that they can avoid a repeat today. Most known for being nicknamed the Temple of Speed, this Italian circuit's second claim to infamy would be its tight chicanes. Will everyone be able to tiptoe through the minefield of an opening lap to come out unscathed? Or will more drivers find themselves stuck with repairs? We'll find out soon as we get ready to watch round 3 of the PRL Radical Racing Series, and you'll see it all live here on the Global SimRacing Channel and the iRacing Esports Network. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Nick Schmeg. Behind the scenes is our director Sean Crackers Ambrose, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Nick, in terms of purpose-built racetracks, this place certainly is one of the granddaddies of them all.
Yeah, absolutely. Here in the PRL Radical Series in rounds 1 and 2, we saw all of these cars race hard with some very high speeds. Those speeds are only going to get higher tonight, though, because like you said, Joe, we're at what was built in the 1920s to become the very daunting Temple of Speed, Autodromo Nazionale Monza. Over the past century, Monza's shape has changed quite a bit, seeing things like the deletion of an oval portion and the addition of a few chicanes, most notably that tricky Turn 1. There are only 11 turns here at Monza, but each one provides its unique critical importance. The two Lesmos, Escari, and the Parabolica are just 3 of those challenging portions. Located just outside of Milan, the historic racing venue takes up nearly 6 kilometers or 3.6 miles of asphalt. The draft is going to cause some headaches tonight for the drivers, but even without the traffic, Monza is problematic enough. To get a better look at what the drivers are up against tonight, the best way to do so is to jump on down to that long front straightaway to begin the GSRC lap guide.
All right, we've got Reed Miller and the GSRC Radical, so let's do a lap around Monza. Down the front stretch, this is the fastest part of the circuit. Pass attempts will be likely here if they haven't already gone by due to the draft. It's not going to be easy if you're in a game of chicken because you're breaking into the slowest part of the circuit, Rettifilio. Hitting your marks will be incredibly tricky. If this wasn't already difficult enough, avoiding wheel spin out of such a slow corner is certain to catch a few drivers out. From there, you'll have your foot to the floor all the way through Curva Grande. It's just a matter of minimizing your steering input and then holding to the right for Della Rogia. This is another spot where passes are likely to happen, but I wouldn't advise trying this chicane too wide. The second apex has an especially tall curb that'll jostle the car around considerably. Next is a short burst up to the first Lesmo. It's going to be tempting to turn in early, but the car will want to understeer on the exit. After that is the second Lesmo, which is much tighter and also more important to the lap. Get a bad exit off of here and you'll be a sitting duck on your way to Ascari. Jumping ahead to that, this final chicane is faster than the other two. The little black sausage curves at each apex should be avoided as well because they can actually damage your car if you're not careful. Get to the throttle as soon as you're sure it'll stick, and now you're faced with the final corner. You might be tempted to try and pass on the way into Parabolica, but it's probably best to wait for the exit. Because it takes you back onto the pit straight, slipstream overtakes will be much easier and safer. But that also means you have to make sure not to sacrifice your exit speed on your entry. However, as you wave to the throngs of Tifosi, you've now hopefully finished a lap around Monza. PRL Radical Racing Series is, of course, brought to you by Dream Vacations. Dream Vacations provides completely customizable vacation packages from your door to your destination and back. Go to travelwithanangel.com and let us worry about the details. Big thank you goes out to Dream Vacations for sponsoring this season of the PRL Radical Racing Series. As was mentioned, we've got 2 rounds that we've run, so the points as they've shaped up have left us with the newcomer, David Unger, up at the top with a second place and a win. Obviously, very hard to top that. Michael Overbay has been doing decently. He jumps up 4 positions there into second place in the points, and Owen McLaughlin himself jumps up 3. Harmon stays where he is. Now, Rim Ambrosi did not have the best of races. That really wasn't his fault. You can't blame him for that opening lap crash. He did come back and was able to salvage himself into 5th place, only a point behind Harmon for the moment. So what does that do for the team's championship? Do we see a lot of shuffle there, Nick?
Well, we do see a great deal of competition over there in the team's championship still, and a little bit of shuffling here and there. Left side drive racing moves up most notably in the shuffle with Harman and Unger. They had a great week last week, the top finishing team, of course. They move up to the top, and a big gap, 23 points all the way back to Alpine Stars Geodesic Racing, who did not at all have a good week last week. I think they are about 5th overall in the team results there. So not a great week for them. Overbay and Padovani looking to rebound tonight. Crash for Cash, those guys are up to 3rd with Wildridge and McLaughlin there. 39 points back, with just 1 point further back is Banana Split Racing, and Fraley's Auto Body team remains in 5th.
Still a lot of racing left to go in the season. That could still change around. Let's take a look at what this race has in store for us today with the race details. As you can see, we are in round 3 with a drop week in the points. So some of those drivers who found themselves in part of that opening lap melee, we'll discuss that a little bit later here. They will be able to drop that race if they didn't manage to come back and get a good result. Now, they do have a restricted fuel cell that you can see on these cars. That means that unlike the real cars, they can only put so much in, and then the sim stops them. That will force one scheduled pit stop for fuel during this race, this 45-minute long race. They've also got an incident cap that will disqualify you if you go over it. Immediately, you will be removed from the circuit, and they have no spare car if you get any sort of damage, which could be likely out there today with the high speeds, the tall curbs. I would be surprised if we saw a little bit of bent up sheet metal. Now, you've been watching this whole season on the iRacing Esports Network, and if you want to continue watching it and don't want to miss a thing, make sure and subscribe. All you got to do that is click the big red button that says subscribe on their YouTube page, and then you will get all of the PRL Radical Racing series in your feed from IESN. We're in the middle of qualifying at the moment, and Michael Overbay currently up at the top. Eric Luke was ahead of him for a moment, and I know David Unger has been very fast lately. He's actually been working with his teammate Harman. They're only in 4th and 5th. They're actually coming around to complete another lap right now.
Yeah, you mentioned Michael Overbay at the top of the board. He's had a consistent first 2 weeks in the series. Rode Atlanta last week, got the podium for the first time this season, and it was a 6th place finish, or 6th place finish at Watkins Glen in the season opener. So definitely a good start for that Alpine Stars Geodesic Racing driver.
A little puff of smoke there from Unger. Oh, and he overshot it. That's going to ruin both their laps. And I think, they're going to pull over since they've been working together so that they can stay together and offer a draft. That last lap did jump them up slightly. Unger up to 4th, Harman up to 5th. Oh, and Harman is going to abandon it, unfortunately. This is Ronald McManus sitting in 19th, coming around to complete his lap, a 149.6, the only one he's put down, and a 54.0. I think that was an out lap for him, so he's not going to be able to improve. David Abear coming around as well in 18th. His last lap didn't count. Now, we keep mentioning this opening lap problem. For our viewers who weren't here, Nick, real quick, I'll recap. Apparently we found out afterwards that Overbay had his pit limiter on at the start accidentally. That caused him to be slow. The checkup meant he got run into, somehow was able to continue, but all the cars that ran into him piled into one another, and a huge wreck happened. Now, the reason I bring that up, Nick, what is Monza's first chicane probably most known for?
Well, the stack up that we saw last week at Road Atlanta, it might repeat just a little bit here again today. It gets a little hairy in there, very tight. It's that sharp 90-degree turn to the right, and then another very tight turn back to the left and the curve out to the right. It is a very tricky chicane, not just your normal bus stop or inner loop, like you saw at a track like Watkins Glen in the season opener. This is one of the tightest chicanes in all of racing, and on the first lap when you're all bottled up, it's going to get very interesting. That is if we make it there.
Yeah, hopefully everybody's off the line nice and clean this time. That first chicane is still very much a worry. This is Spicer crossing. That one actually improves to a 45.7 and bumps him up to P9 in the number 22 car. Jumping back a little bit to Gunderson. He's finishing his lap, a 46 flat, his fastest, and a 45.7. That is going to push him up one spot into the top 10. So Hebert is going to try one more time here. He's got plenty of more tries, honestly. Running just under 2-minute laps and about 5 minutes left on the clock. His fastest is a 49.1. Over the timing line, not going to improve. A 49.4 is not going to do it. So we got a new driver here today, the number 9, David Cristelli, just recently joined the series. He's currently running 13th in qualifying. He's got one timed lap in. The others, unfortunately, has had a couple offs around here. So hopefully this one is cleaner, the New Englander. Working his way up. Let's see what the number 9's got underneath him. A 46.3 is his fastest across the line. 47.2 is not going to be faster for him. Now, Nick, we were talking a little bit before the broadcast about the curbs around here. And you've mentioned before how much these cars don't like running on the curbs. So what in particular, what are the spots you think that they're going to have to watch out for the most around here?
Well, you mentioned turn 1, especially if you're side by side through there. Big sausage curbs there that these cars, you might not see too much cosmetic damage after you run over them, but there is oftentimes a great deal of suspension damage under there. Ascari as well has some big old curbs that you have to deal with, sliding that car left and right, lots of weight shifting through there. Definitely going to be very interesting. The drivers really have to be precise.
This is our pole sitter for the moment, provisionally and appropriately, the number 1, because he was our champion this past season. He holds the fastest time of a 44.4. Coming around Parabolica now. He's being chased by Eric Luke, who isn't actually out on track, and he's running out of time to return if he wants to do better. Looks like Overbay doesn't want to set another lap. He might be done with qualifying himself. So this leaves David Unger, who sits in 3rd and is coming through Ascari just behind Daniel Barnett. That might actually slow him down. So he's going to have to possibly work to set up a hot lap here if he can get around Barnett.
It's going to be on the outside and to Parabolica. Looks like he made that work pretty nicely.
So he will have 2 more laps if he wants them, because he'll cross with over 2 minutes left to go. This last lap was not his fastest, so I think maybe he was potentially held up by Barnett. Worth mentioning that Paul Wildridge has found himself a fair bit of speed. He tends to be around the top 10, but he's currently sitting 4th. This is a phenomenal qualifying effort from that light blue machine.
Wildridge does have a lot of momentum from last week where Atlanta started towards the back, got through that lap 1 traffic, and finished in the top 5. So great result last week for Wildridge down there in Brazelton, Georgia, and looking to carry that momentum across the pond with him today and doing a great job, like you said, so far of that.
Yeah, that lap was not faster, unfortunately, for Wildridge. So let's see, who else do we have possibly close? Bill Guillaumin, who currently sits in 18th. He's got about 3 timed laps in. I think he's on a flyer here. Looks like he should be. Oh, but he's got a bit of damage on the car. Well, that certainly won't help.
Yeah, it definitely won't. This track is pretty aero sensitive. These cars in general are, but this track especially, it's going to cause a lot of peculiarity in the aero sensitivity of these cars with these long straightaways.
Guillaumin did not jump up in positions, but set his best lap. This is Christian Gritzko. Now, he's been a very good qualifier, but not the best of racers. And in fact, a very, very good qualifier. This last lap moves him up to the top 5 on the grid. But 7 points in the first round. I'm not sure where exactly that puts him, and I know he DNF'd last round. This has been a bit of a miserable opening 2 races to the season for Christian.
Yeah, he hasn't, out of the 2 races we've had so far, has not qualified outside of the top 3, including a pole last week at Road Atlanta. So a very, very fast car in that number 28 machine, but sitting 5th right now.
Tyler Gore down in P16. He's got a little bit of a slipstream from Owen McLaughlin up in front of him. And Gore's last lap was his best, a 46.5. That gets him no higher, unfortunately. He stays 16th. So we keep checking in on David Hebert, was as high as 18th, but he's since been bumped down a few positions. His fastest time is 48.8. He's coming around the Mid-South driver off of Parabolica. Let's see if this is going to be any better. I'm waiting for the checkered flag to come out on this session. Actually, has the checkered flag already come out? Oh, excuse me, the checkered flag is over. So Hebert is going to stay 19th. What about Christian Gritzko? This is Matthews just ahead of Gritzko. He's yet to put a time in, so this will be very important. Does he get one on the board? Gritzko actually jumps up to 3rd. You said he's yet to qualify out of 3rd. Well, he continues that trend. And Matthews actually went to 22nd, I can report. Wow. What a late qualifying effort from Gritzko. So that's going to end our qualifying. Let's go through our starting grid. Michael Overbay, hoping to avoid the pitfalls of the start of last race. He'll be on the pole. Eric Luke, still looking for that first win. And once again, going to be starting on the front row. He's done that multiple times. Gritzko continues his streak and is able to start 3rd. David Unger, a 2nd and a 1st so far this season. He's going to start from P4. Let's see what he can do from there. Paul Wildridge will be P5. And then Eric Harmon, the teammate to Unger, will start in 6th. Curlin Andrew, he's been having fuel troubles so far this season. He starts 7th. Christopher Richards will be 8th and Danny Duchesne 9th. Rounding out the top 10 is going to be car number 22, Andrew Spicer.
Behind them, row number 6 is going to go to the 33, the Canadian Matthew Gunderson, and Mark Fillet in the 777 machine. The Baker's dozen spot goes to Owen McLaughlin in the number 5 with newcomer David Cristelli alongside him in 14th. 15th goes to Matthew Miles. Tyler Gore will be alongside of him in row 8. Row 9 will go to Daniel Barnett and Phil Guillaumin. And in 19th will be David Hebert. That would have been last place last week with the 19 car field. This week we've got 24 drivers. Ronald McManus, 20th. Julian Huxley, 21st. Brian Matthews, 22nd. And William Lee, the last driver to set a qualifying lap. Rem Ambrosi in the 63 machine will round out the 24 car field. He's going to have quite a bit of ground to make up tonight.
Yeah, we've seen how fast Rem can be, so I'm curious to see whether or not he can try and work his way up to, well, who knows, top 10, top 5, maybe a podium. It all depends, especially with this first corner. As you can see, the car is already gridding up. Now, fans of our runner-up in the championship last season, Jefferson Padavani, I have bad news. He will not be able to compete for the championship this year. He unfortunately has some work obligations that is keeping him from racing for a couple rounds, hence why you do not see him out there today. Almost everybody gridded up. We're waiting for Wildridge, Barnett, and Guillaumin. Then we are going to go racing for 45 minutes out here today at Monza. Round 3 of the PRL Radical Racing Series. One more car to go. Just that single spot that you see on your screen. That's Wildridge looking to get his car all set up and ready to go. Thankfully, everybody going to be starting a straight line this time, unlike we saw at Road Atlanta where they start down the hill. Hopefully we don't have too many spun tires out there. It is a pretty wide start-finish straight, but then it narrows up as you head towards that first chicane. Wildridge certainly taking his time. Now he's popped out there. So as the engines start to rev, the lights come up. Green flag is out here for round 3 in the PRL Radical Racing Series. Overbay looks like a decent start. Eric Luke Going to slot in behind him, but it is a fantastic start from Unger behind them, looking to get to the inside of Luke. 3 wide for the lead as they come for the corner, and they bang wheels. They manage to get through it. Overbay still with a nose ahead. Luke still beside him, and it's 2 by 2. Everybody else looks like they managed to make it through.
A really aggressive start there from David Unger to try to get that position. Now Christian Gritzko has a big run there, which was now going to become the inside. He's going for the lead now over Overbay.
Oh, and Luke gets punted. I think that was Unger that got into him. It wasn't the first chicane, it's the second one as multiple cars are scattered. See a banana split car turn
Danny
sideways.
Duchesne, that banana split car.
We'll go back to the replay in a bit and really try to break that one down. Unfortunate that we saw some damage out of that one. You can see a few cars running wide out of the second Lesmo. David Unger, one of those, unfortunately falling downwards. He's all the way to 9th in the thick of a battle behind McLaughlin and Gunderson. Now they hit Ascari. Who is that for 3rd? That's Wildridge. Wildridge off the track with a cut course. This is not going to be good.
Eric Harmon's going to get by him now. That's Andrew Spicer, the next car. And up ahead out of all of this, Christian Gritzko was the driver that took advantage of this, but Overbay is keeping him in check, coming through Parabolica for the first time this evening.
What a topsy-turvy first lap here at Monza. And with all the emphasis that we placed on the first chicane, it looks like it was elsewhere that caused problems. Oh my goodness, Mark Feil had an enormous accident coming out of the Parabolica. The replay, he got 3 wide, and that sent him off track. It was with Miles and Cristelli. They were to the outside of him. He just lost control of the car, and then I'm not sure who it was, but someone.
Tyler Gore that came through and hit him.
Yeah, just that inside grass. Gore, not expecting him, sends him flying into the Armco. Let's watch from the Canadian's perspective. Sees it start to happen. Oh. Gore able to keep going. He's sitting at 11th, so not too bad of a position. After all of that, our leader still Gritzko. He survived the attack from Overbay down into the first chicane. And Andrew rounds out our podium, but we're looking at 8th position. This is a battle between McLaughlin and Unger trying to come back up through the field. Now, Unger made contact in that second chicane, De La Rogia, and I'm wondering, you can see the damage,
got
Nick.
Big damage, especially on that front left.
Bad news on a track where you want to be fast in a straight line. So David Unger doesn't look like he'll necessarily repeat his podiums he's been racking up here in this rookie season, unless some more wild stuff happens or he's just incredible racing with damage. He did manage to get by McLaughlin, now up to 8th, and he's hunting down Gunderson ahead of him. See if anything happens here as they ride in his slipstream. Looks like McLaughlin's going to be able to get to the inside. What about Miles? Not quite. They'll break for Redifilio, but a little bit too late for McLaughlin. He tips into David Unger, and now he gets turned around.
All 3 of them can't quite make it through there cleanly. Unger's just going to tow. Now David Cristelli gets sideways through there.
Yeah, he just lost connection from one. I thought the same thing. He was just going to abandon this one. Now he's going to go. He comes to a halt. Oh, boy.
What a night driver start. Problems through there, yeah.
So let's take a look at Christian Gritzko. That gap is staying at about half a second between himself and Overbay. Overbay knows he needs good results, though I'm sure he'd like the win. Right now doesn't need to necessarily fight Gritzko too hard, especially since he's keeping him in check. Right on board with our leader, looking back at the number 1 machine.
How about in 3rd place, Curlin Andrew coming up from 7th now finds himself on the podium.
Yeah, this is certainly played out in the number 12's favor, but as we've seen, he's got to actually finish the race. He's got to avoid issues with figuring out his fuel strategy, but the banana split car certainly looking handy for the moment. I think we've finally got a little bit of quiet, so why don't we take a look at the opening lap crash into De La Roja, see if we can break down what exactly happened. I do know that it was Unger who got into Luke. There you see the end of the incident. It looks like didn't quite backing up quite far enough. Let's see, here we go. Got run into from behind by Unger. I'm not sure who all got into him from there. This is a perfect camera angle to see. Oh, it was a checkup. You could see Deshane getting run into. And then drivers were essentially just trying to brake harder and turning the cars around.
Yeah, Duchesne took a shot there from the 49 of Christopher Richards behind him, it looks like. That's the car that lifted him up into the air and kind of got sideways over the curbing. Then Richards took a shot from David Cristelli coming through there as well. Lots of cars just bouncing off of each other.
As we come back alive, we got a battle for fifth. This is Andrew Spicer and Matthew Gunderson. Both of them having climbed the same amount of position. Fast forward back to live action. Gunderson definitely giving quite a challenge.
Looks like Paul Wildridge has taken it into the pits as well. I think he took a tow to the pits this last lap. He was running fifth at the time. This is the battle for fifth now.
Let's see if I can spot. Nothing really happened to him.
Yeah, I think just maybe a software issue or something.
Just pulled off the road, parked it, took a tow. Well, that's unfortunate. In the meantime, looking at 8th position now. Oh, side by side, McLaughlin and Gore. We've seen these two in a fight before when we had Unger amongst them. He's since towed into the pits, which we saw earlier. Both of them navigating Redifilio just fine. In fact, we have a lot of cars sitting in the pits. Wildridge in there. Unger is in there. Richards, unfortunately, on file. William Lee. Duchesne is already retired. Barnett has also DNF'd and left the server. De La Roja, we ride on board with McLaughlin, looking back from the rear at Tyler Gore.
Looks like McLaughlin might have a little right front damage as well on this number 5 machine. Looks like a pretty clean car for the 77 of Gore behind him, so don't know if there will be any damage there. Oh, problem with David Cristelli, a few cars behind him.
Yeah, it looks like the driver in his first race had to brake a little hard because Guillaume had an off in front of them, and then he tried to return at the wrong time.
Yeah, that really threw him off, it looks like. Guillaume's little mistake there in front of him.
And it was Ambrosi who got into him. You see it from above here. That's Ambrosi. Oh.
Ooh.
Yeah, he took a hard lick. Fortunately, the Australian driver probably was not expecting him to come back out onto the racing line at that moment.
A couple of bonus spots for David Hebert there, who got through cleanly behind him.
Boy, David Hebert from 19th now to 11th. Oh, back to Spicer once again, and it's a lot closer this time. Gunderson on his tail. It's going to be the inside into De La Roja. Oh, and they bang wheels. Actually, a little bit of contact between them. Dead even on the brakes. Can Gunderson get the power down? Yes, he can. With a little bit of elbow grease, the number 33 takes P5.
Let's see if Spicer can get any kind of slipstream behind him here. They make their way through the Lesmos now. Oh, hard on the brakes, Spicer.
manages to get off the corner, just not as good as Gunderson. That certainly cost him some time and an opportunity as they come to the braking zone for Ascari. It's already been very, very attrition-filled here in round 3. We're a mere 10 minutes into this race. If you're just joining us, our leader is Gritzko. Overbay is in second, and Andrew is in third.
And actually, if we... yeah, we don't have to go to it now, but Gritzko actually not too far away from Overbay. Overbay really keeping him in check here.
Look at the side-by-side action. This is Miles in the pink car, Owen McLaughlin and the blue machine. Gonna stream down the front stretch. Miles going to get a nice little tow. Oh, but look at him start to drop off. I think that might have been a lift.
Yeah, I bet he doesn't want to be tucked up underneath the number 5 there on this heavy braking section. Oh, a little bit of a slide through that heavy braking section for McLaughlin there. Manages to keep it gathered up, though, and he'll hold that position down.
Yeah, we haven't talked about how little downforce these cars probably have at a track like this. This is certainly a downforce car, so I'm sure they're a handful in the slow sections.
Yeah, definitely getting back on the power. You got to really kind of nurse it back on the throttle. Even hard on the brakes, the car really likes to snap on you.
Putting some pressure on now. Matthew Miles, who we mentioned last race, kind of was quietly running some good races, although he ran into trouble at Road Atlanta. He was another one of the. He was actually the first one to the scene that when Overbay had that bad start. Just staying right in the tire tracks of McLaughlin down into Ascari, but not close enough to attack. Behind them, that car that you see is Tyler Gore, and suddenly Overbay is starting to run down Gritzko. It was close as 3/10. It's now back up to 4/10 between them, but he's got the slipstream. Our champion from last season set the fastest lap of the race, and he is now starting to make it a race out of today.
Yeah, he definitely utilized that draft to give himself that purple lap there. Let's see if he can utilize that draft to get around Gritzko, though. He's looking awfully fast.
And the good news is for Overbay, but bad news for Gritzko, naturally, is that Gritzko has been mistake-prone. So I wonder if Overbay has been watching that and paying attention, and if he's thinking he doesn't necessarily need to attack and maybe just wait and see what Gritzko himself does. It's Canada versus Ohio out there. Gritzko hailing from the Great White North, Overbay from the Buckeye State. The second Lesmo down past the church, under the old oval, and with the braking for Ascari. One of the things that still gives this place that incredible sense of speed. All the parkland, beautiful scenery on either side of the track. Drops off a little bit this time, back to 7/10. So it looks like Overbay's threat has lessened. Let's head back to McLaughlin and Miles once again, because they are still well tight to each other.
Yeah, about the same gap between the leaders as McLaughlin and Miles have. Miles really trying to pull in McLaughlin, but just kind of stalls out through the braking sections, it seems like. Can't quite get to him. But he is definitely got him not quite in striking range there as they go through Parabolica. See what kind of run they get out of here.
This is where Miles wants to get that good exit. Matthew, maybe just a little bit too far back, but a decent application of the throttle still allows him to hold on to the number 5. Certainly no attack up to the Rettifilio chicane. So we still have 14 cars left on the lead lap now that we've gotten a third of the way through this race. The vast majority, in fact, I would say all the cars that are lapped down are not due to pace, but due to incidents that we've had out on track. A few of them have returned. Wildridge has gotten his machine out as, wow, Miles looking very strong down into De La Roja. Can't take advantage of a little bit of gravel running from McLaughlin out of that second chicane. Also had Eric Luke bring his car back out. Christopher Richards has returned to the track. William Lee also has returned from repairs.
Miles has not only been taking advantage of McLaughlin's couple of off tracks this lap, but he's also been taking advantage of these braking zones. Seems to be out-braking Owen McLaughlin in the number 5 just a little bit.
This is the closest battle we've got on track, and that was a horrible exit by McLaughlin coming out of Ascari. Miles with a nice run, but does he really want to try and make an attempt up into Parabolica? I certainly wouldn't advise it. Miles thinks better of it. Stays right with him, tries to get the run off the corner, and this is going to be his best opportunity. The Club West driver looking to try and use the slipstream down the front stretch. He's right behind, and another lift.
Not going for it now. Maybe a little bit of fuel conservation for Matt Miles, the driver out of Colorado. Oh, in front of him, Owen McLaughlin hard over those curbs in turn 1.
Well, that's all he needed. And Matthew Miles now promotes himself up to 7th. And I'm glad you pointed that out. I, too, was noticing the Colorado flag being my home state currently. Glad to see some racing representation out there.
I do think it is one of the nicer state flags visually.
Oh, and so we check in on Overbay. He's not been able to do anything with Gritzko. Still 7/10 behind. Is this a new Christian Gritzko that we're seeing? Withstanding the pressure, running a very clean race. We've entered the pit window. Not sure that we'll see too many take early stops. But that number 28 car holding our current champion at arm's length.
I'm wondering what kind of fuel saving Overbay's been able to do here. It doesn't look like he's close enough to quite take advantage of that, but I can't imagine he's being hurt much more than Gritzko at this point when it comes to that. Probably very similar on the remaining fuel.
Yeah, I just can't see that. It doesn't seem like Overbay really has been doing any sort of fuel saving from what we've watched. He'd have to be a lot closer. What? Remember we saw earlier a battle between Gunderson and Spicer. Well, that separated for a moment, and now it's come back together. This is for P5. Gunderson leads, and the number 33, that's the teal and pink car that you see. And then Spicer behind in the gray and red machine. This is about 5 seconds up the road from Miles, who we were watching before. So if they do start fighting, that could offer another opportunity for Matthew to keep moving his way forward through the field.
Yeah, Gunderson, both of these drivers taking advantage of that lap 1 and first couple of laps chaos that we saw here at Monza tonight. Gunderson started 11th, Spicer started back in 10th, and even the drivers behind him started far outside the top dozen. So great taking advantage of all of that. With a great start for these guys in the back, very cleanly.
I have to agree. Gunderson trying to keep this 5th place as Spicer continues to hound him. But it seems like drivers struggling maybe to get right up behind each other. Everyone seems to be saying close to 3/4 of a second apart on track. And if they get close, it's suddenly... the opportunities don't seem to be there, which surprises me in a track that's known for draft battles. Oh no, a problem from Matthew Miles. McLaughlin was hunting him down, and unfortunately Matthew succumbed to the pressure himself. A little bit of snap oversteer.
Yeah, just lost it there. started to turn in on him, and the rear end slid out to the left, and like you said, that oversteer tried to correct it, and it sent the Colorado driver spinning. No damage on that 14 car except maybe some flat spotted tires.
And one rocky lap, unfortunately, sets him backwards down to 9th after he was looking at a potential top 5. 24 minutes left to go on the clock. He could still recover. Looking through the field, certainly took one of the battles out of our hands. That leaves only Spicer and McLaughlin and Gritzko and Overbay close to each other. Everybody else has been spreading apart.
Yeah, even this gap for the leader has been spreading apart as well. Gritzko has begun to open that gap up a little bit. You see there, almost 1 whole second over Overbay now.
And 28 isn't without damage. You could see on the left side of the car, just a little bit wrinkled. And if I'm remembering right, wasn't he one of the ones in the very first chicane on the very first lap where they came together and banged side to side?
Yeah, I believe that is correct. They're very hard racing. So definitely has a little bit of damage from that as well, I'm sure.
Despite that damage, Overbay was the other one actually that he ran into, so maybe Overbay's got mirrored damage on his car, and that's partly why he's unable to chase him down. We watch the gray number 28 continue to lead this race. As did I see some lap traffic? Yes, indeed. Eric Luke is in front of him. Now, Luke is one of the drivers that had to return after an accident early on. Got a little bit of a shove in De La Roja. Got turned around.
Got to be a disappointing race so far for Eric Luke. Finished second last week at Road Atlanta. I'm sure he was hoping to carry that momentum into Monza tonight, but this one's going to end up very similar to his Watkins Glen result, which was also multiple laps down.
Luke becoming something of the Chris Amon of the Radical Racing series. Can't seem to get a win, and luck just never seems to be on his side. Do have a battle brewing for 8th. Miles, who sent himself spinning down to P9, has already regained Tyler Gore, the number 77. Looks like he is lacking pace in comparison to the number 14. This might be easy pickings.
Yeah, I'm thinking it might be Miles, like you said, trying to fight his way back here. So after his spin in the Parabolica, he knows he's faster than him.
You could see out from the front of Matthew Miles' car, just getting closer and closer. Is this going to be enough to use the slipstream on Gore? This is a great exit from Matthew Miles. Last time we saw this, he kept lifting. Is he going to actually make an overtake here, or is he also going to lift again? He's getting right up behind him. Now he ducks to the inside. Matthew Miles going for the pass down into Rettifilio. He's got the inside line. They're almost even on the brakes. Miles a little bit stronger over the curb. But did he get a cut course? Yep, he took that a little too tight.
Next car behind him is Paul Wildridge, but not for position, so I don't believe Miles is going to lose any spots here as he's starting to get back up to speed.
Yep, Colorado driver, unfortunately only riding high for a moment, and then he had to hand it back. So,
Tyler Gore in front of him is off the track.
Well, this will be a nice little gift. Gore hands not only that spot over, but Wildred's a lap down, so that's not for position. So let's look at the replay of Gore. Did he just simply outbrake himself?
I think so. I think he just missed his braking point there and safely went off track and avoided those big curbs.
Yeah, I think he decided it's better to just take the cut course than get damage going over the sleeping policeman. So, thankfully, that only loses him the one position, which is ironic since Matthew Miles, in his attempt to pass him, had to hand it back due to a cut course. But unfortunately for Gore, his was worse. A little bit behind them, Phil Guillaumin. He's got David Cristelli, the newcomer, already looking to the inside. This is down to Ascari, but David not brave enough on the brakes. He's going to back out of it. And while that's happening, we have a few takers in the pits. Gunderson, Spicer, Gore, all in.
It's a look to the outside here for David Cristelli. I think he's going to have it here down into Parabolica. So it's going to be another spot there for the number 9, the newcomer and the New Englander.
Yep. He started 14th, slowly moving his way up. Gunderson's already finished his stop. He's back out. Same thing with Spicer, returning to the racetrack. Gunderson is going to get back in 7th, maybe 8th. Cristelli's actually coming up on him right now. There's Gore returning. Cristelli didn't quite have the momentum. Is stuck behind him. Oh, we got a pass for the lead. Overbays to the inside of Gritsko. This is coming up to the Parabolica. Was this an error from the number 28? What happened? He's got the outside. Overbay is going to try to get the power down. And Gritsko heading for the pits because of it. So how did
looks like up into Ascari. Overbay actually took that spot, and Gritsko was fighting for it back there.
Let's see if we can get a replay. This was, this was bold moves from Overbay. He just found himself finally with a run. You see the tail of it. This happened just before they went into that chicane. And let's take one more look. Here you go. Perfect. Yeah, wow, look at that monster run coming out of the second Lesmo, and he knew it, and he was tired of waiting around. First chance that he got, the geodesic racing driver stuck it to the inside, couldn't quite get it done in that first chicane, but still sealed the deal.
And Gritsko in the pits now, or just came out of the pits actually. So that will leave Overbay on track in the lead all by himself.
Naturally, this means Gritsko's our highest pitter. Next driver to be in and out is Eric Harmon in 5th. Matthew Miles just finished his stop, I can report. Cristelli coming in for his and just hit his stall. So does Overbay respond, or does he also decide to stay out and try to rifle off some fast laps to solidify this lead? Let's see which he prefers. He's holding right. Sometimes that can be misleading. He is going to pit.
He will indeed. Curlin Andrew behind him will also come in, surrendering that spot.
And McLaughlin's the last one of our leaders that needs to pit. We're still waiting on a Bear and Huxley to take scheduled stops. Where is Gritsko? Gritsko's coming up to the Parabolica right now. Pit stop time looks good for the number 28. Overbay still stationary. We're looking at about 18 to 20 second pit stop times. He's up to 16. Oh, it's a very fast stop from Overbay. 16 seconds in his stall. Maybe he did save fuel. Where's Gritsko? He's got speed. He's coming up behind him. Is it enough? They're coming up to the braking zone. He's by him. He could see a brave move on the brakes, but no. Overbay can't quite do it. Oh, a little bit too hot. Gritsko tries to get back to the power. He just barely holds on by a thread.
This is not over at all. Overbay to the outside. He's got the run for sure, but on the outside that might stall out just a little bit.
Just back
tight braking zone here.
Oh, he's brave on the brakes, but too brave.
Oh,
they come together. Gritsko holds on to it. He keeps from going completely around Michael Overbay takes the lead. Hopefully that did not damage Gritsko's suspension that was right on the corner of the car.
Doesn't look too bad as far as damage goes for Gritsko. Let's take a look at this again.
Can we get an onboard with Overbay for this? So on the first chicane, it was Gritsko who overshot himself. Second chicane, it was Overbay. Here we see that's Gritsko to the side. Overbay trying to collect the car. Oof. I don't blame Gritsko for trying to whip around him. And poor Overbay also trying to get the car together. So Gritsko recovers to about 1.3 seconds behind. This race is not over.
William Lee currently splitting them being lap traffic, and that's going to be all there is to rate for that because Gritsko is going to get by him. And honestly, the gap between Gritsko and Overbay pretty manageable, I think, for Gritsko and the speed we saw out of him earlier.
I'd agree. And before that closes up, let's duck back just to take a look at the battle for 12th. Cristelli, after his pit stops, has not been able to dispose of Guillaumin, and unfortunately clattering over the sleeping policeman is certainly not going to help. Did he get a slowdown, though? He's still ahead.
Yeah.
Maybe he just served it well enough. I think maybe Phil slowed up. And Phil... Well, that certainly will keep him from taking to the position. The number 96 off into the kitty litter out of Lesmo 2.
We can also report that after that pit cycle, the podium looks a little bit different. Eric Harmon jumped Curl and Andrew there.
Uh-oh. Already Gritsko behind Overbay. 2 tenths between them. Now, how heated is Gritsko after the touch? He's got to run. Could this be a mirror image of what we saw before? It was Overbay who pulled the move into this chicane to take the lead. This time, no. Gritsko not able to close in enough. They got a little bit of lap traffic in front of them. That's Eric Luke.
Gritsko is going to be really aggressive here, I think.
Maybe not here. Maybe he's waiting for the front stretch. He knows he's going to have a huge slipstream. Oh, and a great run on top of it. He didn't even need the slipstream. He's going to get a whiff of it anyways. Ducks to the inside. They're trailing behind that lap traffic of Eric Luke. Is that going to come into play? He's making sure to hold Overbay all the way to the left of track, but now he brakes. What was that?
That was interesting. Overbay with a big mistake has to cut through there. He's definitely going to get a slowdown penalty, and this lead, I believe, is going to shift right back to Gritsko.
I would think.
He's not slowing up yet.
He's slowly giving it back. He's trying to minimize the damage. Gritsko's coming. He's got the momentum. The number 28 is back to P1 now.
Now, what can Overbay do to chase him down? That's going to be, I think, a bit more difficult of a challenge. Gritsko has seemed to have a little more speed than Overbay tonight.
You know, what I think may have happened, Luke blew the first chicane, and I think he was trying to let them through. And I think maybe Overbay had a little bit of target fixation and just missed his braking point, seeing Luke continue on.
Yeah, that honestly might be exactly what happened. I mean, that little bit of miscommunication in front of him with Eric Luke, I think, like you said, just threw him off mentally getting into that turn.
Now, this is the biggest gap we've seen in a while. It's 1.7 seconds between Gritsko and Overbay. And I'm curious, you usually are able to find these stats for us. Is this the most overtakes we've seen so far this season for the league? Because, boy, I mean, I guess we had a few at Watkins Glen, but this has been an exciting one.
Yeah, the few we had at Watkins Glen were mostly because the leader kept making a mistake, and we had quite a bit of attrition at the front of the field. So natural racing passes, I wouldn't be surprised at all if this was the most overtakes we've seen this season.
Going back to Owen McLaughlin in P7. The reason we're here is not because that car he's passing. That's a lapped car. It's Andrew Spicer, who's about a second and a half up, and McLaughlin is charging right now. That gap has been coming down. light blue machine of Owen McLaughlin. And as that's happening, I can also report Cristelli continuing to make a charge forward. Actually, Cristelli's going to get a position right now. This is David Hebert, who seems very slow in a straight line because the number 9 car already has a nose ahead, but he's going to have to outbrake him down into Ascari. Looks like Hebert's going to make him work for it. They're still side by side. Oh, and a little bit of a slip.
Oh, behind him. Yeah. Hebert pointed the wrong way after that.
Gets it going, but he loses out to Phil Guillaumin, unfortunately. Let's take a look at that from onboard Hebert. See if we can see what the hands are doing. Maybe another case of that low downforce just not doing well with trying to go off the racing line. Maybe the curb a little bit too.
Yeah, I think he just ran out of room there, and so many limited options you could do inside the cockpit when that happens. Just kind of lost handling. Already had a damaged car, remember, too.
This is true. Oh, and look at how close this battle is getting. That's McLaughlin and Spicer. They were very, very close through the Ascari chicane, but McLaughlin can't get the exit that he needs. He will be within the toe once they get to the front stretch. Let's see what he can do with it. We're going to have lap traffic in front of them. William Lee is ahead. Oh, and a spin from McLaughlin and a spin from Spicer. Did they actually make contact?
Yeah, just very odd coincidence there. No, I was wondering if netcode had anything to do with it, but there's a huge gap in between them.
Yeah, I went back and watched myself. I'm pretty sure there was no contact. McLaughlin starts at first, and then suddenly Spicer starts to join him in sympathy. Unfortunately, Spicer actually hits the wall. I'm not sure if McLaughlin did. If he did, it would be the inside wall. Spicer had to go to the pits because of that, unfortunately. So let's go back to McLaughlin, because now he's got Tyler Gore in front of him. And he's going to have the inside.
Oh, and William Lee sideways in front of him. He's going to get out of the way.
Yeah, that was a lapped car you see turning around in the background. And Gore is overtaken. Owen McLaughlin won P6, but probably not quite this way. Oh, and when did Harmon get by Overbay? Overbay must have made a mistake. Oh, he hit the wall. This was in Ascari. This was just recent.
Oh, this is a hard crash for Overbay, too. Lots of damage here.
Looking for Overbay is the car that we want, the number 1 car. There it is. Gonna have to rewind a little bit. Is it the curbs? It looked a lot like what we saw with Hebert, except he didn't whip it back the other way in time.
Yeah, exactly. And Overbay has so far only lost second to Harmon, but he's got Curl and Andrew not a whole lot longer behind him before he loses that spot too. I would assume with all that damage on the number 1 car of Overbay, he's got to lose that spot in the next 5-6 minutes.
It is looking like a trash heap. But what about Andrew? I think he might have a little bit of damage on his car. That's not Andrew behind. There he is, the yellow machine. Actually, no, I think Andrew's clean.
I think so. I think he is one of the few survivors out here tonight.
I think that was the lap car that we mistook for Andrew. So yeah, he's closing at a rate of knots. It is now less than a second between himself and Overbay. This will be a very happy podium for the number 12. Easy pickings.
Next car behind them for position is Matthew Gunderson. who's definitely, he already has Overbay in his sights going into Parabolica now.
I think the bleeding will stop after that. With only 5 minutes left, Gore is a whole 25 seconds behind Gunderson. Wow, how this race changed as it went. And how about Christian Gritzko? A nearly 13-second lead for the number 28 car. And he had to earn it. He didn't start on the pole. In fact, he started on the second row in third. Aggressive moves at the start. Got a little bit of damage in the process. Managed to fend off Overbay. And now all he has to do is complete 3 more laps. Gunderson just got Overbay. I can report he's now down to P5. Don't think it's worth showing the replay. It was simply Overbay limping around at this point at very low speeds. How many cars do we have left? We actually have quite a few cars left. Despite not having a spare car, many people have returned from damage. We do have a little bit of a battle farther down. Wildridge and Luke.
Not a... Well, looks like just in front of them there was a spin with McManus as that was happening as well.
McManus is currently running 12th. Not sure if we really need to go to that. Want to see if Luke can grab this one. Started this race on the front row. Did the 09. We're going to get one more position as Andrew Spicer is currently taking repairs in the pits. That bumps Wildridge up to 14th. Luke up to 15th.
Yeah, both of these cars have obviously had rough nights, but just that little extra position for the few extra points that Luke would gain here would mean a lot. Overbay has just taken it to the pits as well. Might be a meatball flag on that car.
That would be my guess. I don't think he had reason to come in considering his pace was good enough to keep Gore behind, but now Gore easily breezes by on the front stretch. Ah, my goodness. Poor Michael Overbay. Our champion is got one podium down and a decent finish at Watkins Glen, but this one's going to hurt to try and retain that crown, especially with what we're seeing from some of these other drivers. This one will certainly turn it over because our points leader, David Unger, who's still running, is down in 18th. Who else do we have? This is Unger that we see on screen now. Overbay now having his problems. He was second in the points. Owen McLaughlin is currently sitting 6th. He's 3rd in the points, so this will help him a lot. Eric Harmon actually is looking like he potentially could take the points lead as we see the white flag wave for Christian Gritzko. Harmon sitting P2 and is 4th in the points. Berlin Andrew taking that number 12 onto the podium. Now Gunderson's not too far behind, so he's got to keep a clean lap. He's not out of the woods quite yet.
Yeah, not the time that Andrew needs a slowdown penalty here. Also not the time that he wants to run out of fuel.
Yeah, let's hope that he got it right this time. As much as we joke, I'd hate to see him lose out on this due to that error again. Let's give a little screen time to our leader, the number 28. He's got half a lap left to go. Christian Gritzko, 14-second lead. As much as we pointed out his problems, his self-made mistakes in the first 2 rounds at Watkins Glen and at Road America, this has been, I would almost say, a nearly immaculate drive for Christian. Small mistakes here and there. May have lost the lead a couple times, but an aggressive charge, a hard-fought battle. And I'd say this gray and blue machine is very deserving of this win today. coming down to the Parabolica. This has got to feel good. This has got to be some fantastic redemption out of the final corner. A little bit of damage on the left side isn't going to hurt him today because Christian Gritzko is going to win here at Monza.
Eric Harmon going into Parabolica right now. He should be able to hold on to this second place. It's been a quiet night for him after starting 6th and making his way up through here, just taking advantage of others' mistakes and keeping his race together fairly clean. A little bit of damage on the back of that 617.
You're not going to believe this. You're not going to believe this. Andrew is out of fuel.
Goodness.
Andrew is out of fuel, and he's going to lose the podium. Gunderson's going to take it at the line. Unbelievable. We're going to watch this one more time.
Andrew made it so close this time, too, coming out of the last turn. He had the finish line just a few hundred yards ahead of him.
Oh,
Not even a few hundred yards ahead of him.
I can't believe all 3 races. Even he is getting on the radio now and saying that, oh gosh, poor Andrew. Well, behind him, Gore finished 5th. McLaughlin came across P6. And Matthew Miles, how about this recovery? After the problems he had, he's going to get a 7th place.
And David Cristelli looking at an 8th as well, right behind him.
On the lead lap, too, we should point out, very first race for the number 9 car. I think that deserves a pat on the back for the New Englander. That's going to take, as we watch him come around the final corner, it'll take us to break here on the Global Sim Racing Channel. We'll have the unofficial results as well as driver interviews on screen. You're going to see all the upcoming races here on the GSRC.
Hello from Dream Vacations. We look forward to helping you plan a cruise vacation where you can race your friends on the top deck while cruising the oceans, or you can compete with your friends in style with virtual reality racing on board. If cruising is not for you, we can send you to Germany where you can challenge the ring, or whisk you off to Abu Dhabi to take on the world's fastest roller coaster in Ferrari World. Whatever your dream vacation may be, let Dream Vacations handle the details and make that dream into a reality. Visit us at www.travelwithanangel.com.
Welcome back to Monza. It was round 3 today in the PRL Radical Racing Series. And in the end, Christian Gritzko, I believe, takes his first win ever, possibly, in this series. I'm trying to remember if he won last season. Regardless, actually, I think he did take one win. It's his first win this season. Eric Harmon takes a podium, his first podium of this season, in second place. And then Matthew Gunderson has got to be just gobsmacked right now. He started 11th on the grid, and with feet to go to the line, moves up to third from fourth, because in fourth place, it was Curlin Andrew running out of fuel with only one corner left to go. Tyler Gore managed to go from 16th to 5th, and then Owen McLaughlin gets himself 6th place. 15th to 7th for Matthew Miles, and then David Cristelli winds up in 8th, having started 14th. He's the last car on the lead lap. Phil Gilman finishes 9th, and David Hebert rounds out our top 10.
Ronald McManus, one of the PRL NASCAR Truck Series regulars, he's going to come home right behind them in P11. Michael Overbay, if you're wondering where he finished after his tragic end to this race, he's going to finish in that dozen spot. The Baker's dozen spot behind them goes to Julian Huxley, who had a quiet race, finishing 2 laps down. 14th and 15th are routed out by Paul Wildridge and Eric Luke, who both had their fair share of problems tonight. Andrew Spicer, we saw battling with Luke. He lost out on that one. A couple laps further down in 16th. 17th goes to Christopher Richards. David Unger, who has been strong in the first 2 rounds, he's going to finish 18th. 19th to William Lee, and P20 to Brian Matthews.
21st goes to Rem Ambrosi. DNF today, Mark File, 22nd. Daniel Barnett, 23rd, and Danny Duchesne, 24th. A lot of drivers ending up licking their wounds at the end of the day, but one driver that did not for once this time this season is Christian Gritzko. Congratulations on first, Christian. A commendable drive. Incredible job fighting with Overbay.
Yeah, thanks, guys. It was honestly the longest race I've ever been a part of, even though it was 45 minutes. I was sweating throughout every single lap that I was leading and seeing Overbay behind me. And then once he disappeared, I don't know where he went, but I just felt like I can calm down and just take it home.
Now, the first 2 rounds, we were commenting about how your car just didn't look very easy to handle. But today, you didn't seem to have the same problems. Did you have a different philosophy in your setup today, or did you not change anything? What made the difference?
Well, in the first 2 rounds, I actually had a really good setups that were so good that I thought that the car could do more than than it could actually do. My teammate Rem, he's really good at making the setups, and for this race in particular, the only thing I really changed was my mindset and just don't worry about other people, worry about my own race. And I really just put pressure on myself in the first 2 races. And for this race, the setup was fantastic, gave me the confidence to keep it clean and not really spin out. And I just had to remind myself to just enjoy the race, don't push, don't worry about anyone else.
Speaking of pushing, tell us about that very first corner into Rettifilio. Going 3 wide with the leaders, that didn't seem like taking it easy, but it all worked out in the end.
Yeah, I just saw a gap and I really just took it, and I didn't really notice that I was going 3 wide. I don't remember if my spotter said anything, but I saw a gap. My car felt, under control. I didn't feel like it was loose, so I just, licked the stamp and said.
It all worked out in the end. Again, congratulations on the victory. Let's see more of this in the upcoming races, sir.
I will do my best. Thank you a lot, guys.
That was Christian Gritzko from 3rd to 1st today. Up next, it looks like 3rd place finisher. Going to talk to Matt Gunderson.
Yes, indeed, Matt Gunderson. Not quite the highest finishing Canadian in the race, since Christian Gritzko was able to get the win. But Gunderson with a podium tonight. I don't know if you expected that coming into the.
Yeah, I really didn't. I was just hoping to get through the chaos in that first lap, and I managed to keep it clean all race. It was not an easy task on that hot track.
Yeah, absolutely. Started way back in 11th, actually. So a fantastic hard charge to the front, gaining 8 spots there. That first 2 or 3 laps, obviously you kept it all clean. Maybe not all clean. Did you have any big problems there to start the race, or did you just sail right through everyone else's problem?
I had a bit of a scare at the second chicane when there was some cars flying in the air in front. Everything was fine.
Yeah, and I imagine you didn't expect coming out of the last turn, coming out of Parabolica on the last lap. I'm sure you were pretty content and happy with a fourth place finish as well.
I would have been completely happy, and I got very fortunate. That's real unlucky for Curlin that he ran out.
Yeah, indeed it is. Didn't see you race last week at Road Atlanta. Saw a top 10 at Watkins Glen. Did you just miss Road Atlanta for personal obligations, or we expect to see you as a series regular here?
Typically, I'm a series regular, but I had a family commitment I couldn't stay away from. But I should be here every race for the rest of the season.
All right. Well, you've got some momentum on your side headed into the Nürburgring next week, so we're looking forward to seeing what you can do with that.
Right on. Thanks, guys. I just want to say thanks to PRL and our sponsors, and to you guys for doing the great broadcasts.
We appreciate it, and we enjoy the show that you guys put on. Joe, you've caught up with someone that you want to talk to. Curlin Andrew, I believe.
Yes, definitely want to talk to him. And Curlin, my first question is, do you have a crew chief, and are they out of a job tomorrow?
Can you guys hear me?
Yep, we got you.
Yes, I have a crew chief. It's a new crew chief for the beginning of the season. And yes, he's out of a job tomorrow.
So I guess our main question is, how does this happen 3 races in a row? What keeps causing you to be short on fuel? Is it just simple miscalculation? Is there damage on the car that eats up the fuel a little bit more? What's going on?
Well, the first race, it was the first time I used this particular crew chief. And I didn't realize how much I rely upon the cues from the old crew chief. It would tell me 5 laps before we're out of fuel. So I knew 5. Then I would get a 2-lap warning. So I knew I need to come in next time by, or whatever the case might be. And so that's what I use all my life in iRacing. So I decided to try a new crew chief. And this guy don't give me the same cues. He just said, we're low on fuel, but we're going to make it to the end. So there is really not much to go on. So that's how I ran out of fuel the first time. The second time, I was aware of that, so I kept the fuel gauge up. And just because I was so cautious, I didn't want to run out of fuel again, I pitted 1 lap earlier than I would have normally pitted. And I took on enough fuel to go to the distance, but they didn't give me what I asked for, plus the 1 lap I had. They filled me up to what I requested, so 1 lap less. And so that's why I ran out of fuel last time. Today, I don't know what I did wrong today. I thought I had the calculation right, but I still ran out around Parabolica.
And it was oh so tight. But the 4th place has to at least feel pretty good, knowing that you've got the pace to be pretty competitive. I mean, out there, it looked like up until the end, you were looking incredibly solid on just pace on your own.
Yeah, I was a little bit in no man's land, so I didn't have the benefit of a draft, so I couldn't keep up with Overbay and I believe Unger, who was leading the race at the time, or was it Grisco? So I tried to hold on as best as I can in 3rd place, and I pitted, but because I was running low on fuel when I entered into the pits, I sped, and so I lost 15 seconds in the pits, or else I would have came out perhaps a good margin ahead of Eric and perhaps hold on to 3rd, but yeah.
Well, that's racing sometimes, and still, I think you found some fans in us, just hoping that we aren't groaning at the end of the next race. Congratulations on a top 5 this week.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you very much.
That was Curlin Andrew, finished 4th today, having started 7th. Still a good points haul, and it is going to close us out, especially our interviews. That was some good interviews today, really good insights from our drivers. And before we go, we do want to thank a few people. A big thank you goes to our season sponsor, Dream Vacations. If you want to check them out and get yourself on your own vacation, go to travelwithanangel.com. Also, a big thank you goes to iRacing. They have put us on the iRacing Esports Network for the 2nd season in a row. If you want to subscribe to IESN, all you got to do is click the big red button that says subscribe. Also, a big thank you goes out to our companies that provide the software and hardware to our broadcast. You can see them listed here on your screen. And additional thanks go out to June Lalonde, who provides our wonderful music. See this screen for how to get a hold of more of their great work. Thanks to the team today, Nick, Sean, and Dougie. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com. You can also check us out on social media. We're on Twitter at GSR Channel, Facebook at Global Sim Racing Channel, and Instagram at GSRC_Graham. The next race, we are going to the Nürburgring, but have no fear, it is at the Grand Prix course. We're not doing the Nordschleife in these cars. That'll be Thursday, April 11th at 9 p.m. Eastern. We also have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar. But until next time, race clean, race hard. We'll see you on the track.